I don't trust that man. He is a playboy and a pervert. He tried hitting on me on your own wedding day. My best friend warned me. I should have listened to that advice, but I was too busy trying to fit into a wedding dress that the boutique had to special order in a size they did not usually carry, too focused on the fact that someone like Damian Cross, self-made millionaire and heir to Cross Industries, had actually chosen someone like me. Fat, broke, invisible me. Before we continue this story, please subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family. My name is Valentina Hayes, and on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, I was about to discover that my fairy tale was actually a nightmare wrapped in expensive silk and lies. The wedding was obscenely lavish. Damian had insisted on it. A ballroom that could hold 500 guests, flowers flown in from Ecuador, a cake that cost more than my mother's annual salary. I thought he was showing me off. Proud to be marrying me despite what society would say about my weight. I was so stupid. The ceremony was perfect. I walked down that aisle in my custom dress, size 24 and beautiful. Or at least I felt beautiful until I saw the way some of Damian's friends were smirking. Whispering behind their hands, looking at me like I was a joke, they were all in on except me. Damian said his vows with that $1 million smile, kissed me in front of everyone, and I believed every single word. The reception was in full swing when I went looking for my new husband. I had not seen him in over an hour, and I wanted to share our first dance. I found him in his father's study with 6 of his fraternity brothers, all of them holding glasses of whiskey that probably cost more than my college tuition. The door was cracked open. I was about to push it wider when I heard my name. I cannot believe you actually went through with it, Cross. Marrying that fat cow. That was Brandon, Damian's best man. My hand froze on the doorknob. A bet is a bet, Damian's voice. My husband, the man who had just promised to love and cherish me forever. $5 million to marry her and stay married for 3 years. Easiest money I will ever make. The world stopped spinning. But 3 years? Another voice? Tyler, maybe. That is a long time to be stuck with all that blubber. Please, I will stick her in the mansion, throw money at her to keep her happy, and spend my time with women who actually take care of themselves. Damian laughed. It was a sound I had heard 1,000 times, but now it was poison. The bet was to marry her, not to actually touch her. I will get my $5 million from dear old dad for proving I could commit to marriage, and in 3 years I will divorce her and move on with my life. Your dad is really paying you $5 million just to get married? He thinks marriage will settle me down, make me ready to take over the company. He does not care who I marry, just that I stay married long enough to prove I am serious. Damian took a drink. And let us be honest, only a desperate fat girl would believe someone like me could actually want her. She was the perfect mark. They all laughed. Every single one of them laughed while I stood outside that door, my wedding dress suddenly feeling like it was crushing me, my breath coming in short gasps. I wanted to burst in there, wanted to scream and throw things, and make a scene that would ruin his perfect reputation. But then I heard something that made me stop. Just do not let her find out, Brandon said. If she discovers it is a bet before the 3 years are up, you lose everything. Your dad was very clear about that. She will never find out. Look at her. She is so grateful that someone finally wanted her that she will believe anything I say. Damian's voice was so casual, so cruel. Fat girls are easy. Throw them a few compliments and they will do anything for you. More laughter. I backed away from that door on silent feet, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might explode. I made it to the women's bathroom before I threw up everything I had eaten that day. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I saw what they all saw. A fat girl in a pretty dress, playing pretend at being a princess when everyone knew she was just a joke. But as I stared at my reflection, something inside me hardened. They wanted to play games? They wanted to use me? Fine. 2 could play. And I was going to win. I went back to the reception with a smile on my face. I danced with Damian, let him hold me close and whisper sweet lies in my ear. I laughed at his jokes and posed for pictures and played the role of the blushing bride so perfectly that no one suspected a thing. That night, in the honeymoon suite he had booked, Damian made an excuse about being too drunk and passed out on the couch. I lay in that massive bed alone and started planning my revenge. The next 3 years were a masterclass in deception. Damian set me up in his mansion like he said he would, in a wing far away from his own bedroom. He gave me credit cards and told me to shop, to spa, to do whatever women like me did to pass the time. What he did not know was that I was not shopping. I was studying. I enrolled in online business courses using a fake name. I spent 16 hours a day learning everything I could about corporate management, hostile takeovers, stock manipulation, venture capital. I read every business book ever written. I memorized case studies of corporate warfare. And I lost weight. Not for him, not to make myself more acceptable to society, but because I needed to be healthy and strong for what was coming. I needed energy and stamina and the ability to work 20-hour days without collapsing. I hired a nutritionist and a personal trainer with Damien's money. I worked out in the private gym he never used. I transformed my body, not because I was ashamed of it, but because I was preparing for war. The weight came off slowly. 50 pounds the first year. 70 more the second year. By the third year, I had lost over 140 pounds total. But more importantly, I had gained something far more valuable: knowledge, connections, and a network of people who owed me favors. Because while Damien thought I was sitting at home eating bonbons and being grateful for his money, I was attending business conferences under a pseudonym. I was making investments with the allowance he gave me, turning thousands into hundreds of thousands. I was building relationships with investors, board members, and industry leaders. I became someone named Victoria Harlow in the business world. No one connected the fat housewife of Damien Cross with the sharp, slim woman in designer suits who was making waves in venture capital. I watched Damien from a distance, learning everything about Cross Industries, their weaknesses, their secrets, their shady business practices that would not hold up under scrutiny. And I waited. Damien spent those 3 years exactly as he said he would. He had mistresses, multiple ones. He went to parties and told people his wife was sick or traveling or too busy with charity work to attend. The few times he did bring me out in public, he could barely hide his disgust that I was still fat, not knowing that I was actually losing weight steadily but wearing padding to maintain my size. I needed him to underestimate me. I needed him to think I was still that desperate fat girl who believed his lies. His company was doing well on the surface, but I knew the truth. Cross Industries was bleeding money from bad investments and Damien's expensive lifestyle. His father had started asking questions before he died suddenly of a heart attack 2 years into our marriage. Damien inherited everything: the company, the fortune, the mansion, and me, the wife he was counting down the days to divorce. 3 days before our third anniversary, I made my move. I had spent months quietly buying up shares of Cross Industries through shell companies. I had convinced 3 of the 5 board members that Damien was running the company into the ground. I had proof of his embezzlement, his affairs with employees, his misuse of company funds. I had everything I needed. The board meeting was on a Tuesday. Damien did not even know I was in the building. Why would he? His fat, stupid wife did not know anything about business. I walked into that boardroom as Victoria Harlow, slim and powerful in a black Armani suit, my hair swept back, my makeup flawless. Damien looked up from his presentation, and his face went sheet white. "Valentina?" "Hello, husband." I took a seat at the head of the table. "I hope you do not mind." I bought my way onto the board. "Turns out I own 35% of your company now. Funny what you can do with 3 years and a lot of motivation." He stood up, knocking his chair backward. "What are you doing here? How did a fat girl like me manage to outsmart you?" I smiled. "Is that what you want to ask?" The other board members were staring. Some knew who I really was, Damien's wife. Others only knew me as Victoria Harlow, the venture capitalist who had been buying their shares. "Gentlemen," I continued, "I am calling for an emergency vote for the removal of Damien Cross as CEO, effective immediately. I have evidence of embezzlement, sexual harassment of employees, and gross mismanagement of company funds." I slid folders across the table. It is all in there. Financial records, testimony from his mistresses who he paid with company money, emails showing he has been running this company into the ground while living like a king. Damien's face was purple. "You cannot do this. I am the majority shareholder." "We're the majority shareholder," I corrected. "I now own 35%. Combined with the board members who agree with me, that is 51%. "You lose." "This is insane. You are my wife. You cannot just—" "Oh, about that." I pulled out another set of papers. Divorce papers. I am filing today. And before you think about the prenup you made me sign, you should know that it is void. Turns out, marriage based on fraud is not legally binding. I have recordings of you and your friends discussing the bet. Every word, including the part where you called me a desperate fat cow. The room went dead silent. Damien lunged for me, but security was already there, hired by me, pulling him back. "You cannot do this," he screamed. "I will fight you. I will destroy you." "With what money?" I stood up, towering over him even though he was taller. "I am taking the company. I am taking the mansion since it was purchased with company funds that you embezzled. I am taking everything, Damien. Just like you tried to take everything from me." The vote was unanimous. Damien was out. I was the new CEO of Cross Industries. As security escorted him from the building, he turned back one last time. "This is not over, Valentina." "Oh, honey," I called after him. "It has been over since the moment you made that bet. You just did not know it yet." The fallout was spectacular. The press had a field day. Millionaire CEO ousted by his own wife in a corporate coup. The story had everything. Betrayal, revenge, a dramatic weight loss transformation. I gave one interview. Just one. To the biggest business magazine in the country. I told them everything. The bet, the humiliation, the 3 years I spent planning my revenge while he thought I was just his stupid fat wife sitting at home. The article went viral. Damien was blacklisted from every social club and business organization in the city. His friends, the ones who had laughed with him in that study on our wedding day, suddenly wanted nothing to do with him. Brandon, the best man, reached out to apologize. I blocked his number. Tyler sent flowers. I sent them back with a note that said, "Choke on them." Cross Industries stock initially dropped when the scandal broke, but I had a plan for that too. I brought in new management, cut the wasteful spending, invested in innovation, and within 6 months, we were more profitable than we had been in 5 years. I renamed it Hayes Industries. Damien tried to sue me. His lawyers were good. Mine were better. The case was thrown out when the judge heard the recordings of him discussing the bet. He tried to go to the press, claiming I was a vindictive ex-wife. But I had already controlled that narrative. I was the victim who became the victor. He was the villain who got what he deserved. His reputation was destroyed. No one would hire him. His trust fund was gone, spent on his lavish lifestyle. He had to move into a studio apartment and get a job in sales. I heard through the grapevine that he was miserable. Good. 2 years after I took his company, I saw him again. I was at a business conference, giving a keynote speech about corporate transformation and personal reinvention. 5,000 people in the audience, hanging on my every word. Damien was in the back row. I recognized him even though he had gained weight, lost most of his hair, and looked like he had aged 15 years instead of 5. Our eyes met across that massive ballroom. I saw the hatred there, the humiliation, the rage. I smiled and continued my speech. After, he cornered me in the hallway outside the convention hall. Satisfied, he spat. "You have destroyed my life, taken everything from me. Are you happy now?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no vindication, just emptiness. "I am not happy because of what I did to you, Damien. I am happy because of what I did for myself." I adjusted my designer bag on my shoulder. "You were just a stepping stone, a really expensive, really stupid stepping stone. I loved you," he said, and I could not tell if he actually believed that lie. "No, you did not. You loved $5 million and your own ego. You saw a vulnerable woman and decided to use her for profit." I stepped closer. "But here is the thing you never understood. Fat does not mean weak. Desperate does not mean stupid. And underestimating someone because of how they look is the fastest way to lose everything. I could have made you happy," he tried. "You could not even make yourself happy. How were you going to make me happy?" I shook my head. "Goodbye, Damien. I hope whatever life you build from here is better than the one you threw away. But honestly, I do not care either way." I walked away and I did not look back. 5 years after the wedding that started it all, I stood in the headquarters of Hayes Industries, looking out over the city. The company was worth $3 billion now. We had expanded into tech, renewable energy, and pharmaceuticals. We employed over 10,000 people. We had a reputation for ethical business practices and treating employees well. I had personally funded scholarships for plus-size women in business school. I had started a foundation that provided free business education to people from low-income backgrounds. I had used my platform to speak out against body shaming and workplace discrimination. I had turned my pain into purpose. My assistant knocked on the door. "Miss Hayes, your 3 o'clock is here." I turned from the window. My 3 o'clock was a young woman, maybe 25, who had applied for our mentorship program. Her resume said she had great ideas, but no connections, no money, and no one who believed in her. She reminded me of someone, a girl who once believed a handsome man's lies because she was so desperate to be loved. "Send her in," I said. The woman who entered was nervous, clutching her portfolio like a lifeline. She was plus size, wearing a suit that did not quite fit right, and her eyes were full of hope and fear. "Miss Hayes," she said, "thank you so much for meeting with me. I know you must be incredibly busy." "Sit down," I said gently. "Tell me about your ideas." She sat and started talking, her passion for her business concept overcoming her nervousness. She had created an app for plus-size fashion, a way to connect designers who actually wanted to make beautiful clothes in all sizes, with customers who were tired of settling for whatever they could find. It was brilliant. "I love it," I said when she finished. "How much funding do you need?" I was hoping for maybe $50,000 to start and mentorship to help me. "I will give you $500,000 and a direct line to my head of tech development." I watched her eyes go wide. "But I want 40% equity and a seat on your board." Yes, absolutely." "Oh my God." She looked like she might cry. "Why? Why would you do this for me?" "Because someone should have done it for me." I stood and extended my hand. "Welcome to the Hayes Industries family. We are going to change the world together." She shook my hand with tears streaming down her face. After she left, I sat back down at my desk and pulled out a photograph I kept in my drawer, my wedding photo. Me in that size 24 dress, Damien beside me with that perfect smile that hid so much cruelty. I looked at that girl, that hopeful, desperate girl who thought she had finally found her happy ending, and I felt a wave of love for her. She had been through hell. She had been humiliated and betrayed and broken. But she had survived. More than survived. She had conquered. I tore the photograph in half, right down the middle, separating myself from Damien. I threw his half in the trash where it belonged. My half I placed in a frame on my desk with a small plaque underneath that read, "Remember where you came from. Never forget why you fight." 6 months later, I got a call from a number I did not recognize. "Valentina Hayes, speaking." "Miss Hayes, this is Memorial Hospital. We have a Damien Cross here who listed you as his emergency contact. He has had a heart attack and is asking for you." My first instinct was to hang up. He was not my problem anymore. He had not been my problem for years. But curiosity won out. I went to the hospital. Damien was in a private room, hooked up to machines that beeped steadily. He looked old and tired and smaller than I remembered. "You came," he said when he saw me. I should not have. I stood at the foot of his bed, keeping distance between us. "What do you want, Damien?" "I am dying." He said it simply. "The doctors say I have maybe 6 months if I am lucky." "I am sorry to hear that." "No, you are not." "You are right. I am not." I crossed my arms. "But I am not glad either. I am just nothing about you anymore." He laughed weakly. "That is fair. I deserve that. And worse." He was quiet for a moment. I wanted to say I am sorry. For what I did. For the bet, for humiliating you, for wasting 3 years of your life. You did not waste 3 years of my life. You gave me 3 years to plan the greatest comeback in corporate history. I leaned against the wall. If you had been a good husband, I would still be that naive girl who thought love was enough. Instead, you turned me into a billionaire CEO who knows exactly what she is worth. So, in a way, I should thank you. "Will you?" he asked, and there was something pleading in his eyes. "Forgive me? Before I die?" I thought about it, really thought about it. Did I forgive him for the cruelty, for the bet, for calling me a desperate fat cow and laughing with his friends while I stood outside that door with my heart breaking? "No," I said finally. "I do not forgive you. Forgiveness is for people who are sorry for what they did, not sorry they got caught and lost everything. You are not sorry you hurt me. You are sorry I hurt you back." "That is not true." "Yes, it is. If I had stayed fat and stupid and grateful, you would have divorced me after 3 years and never thought about me again. You are only sorry now because I won? I pushed off the wall. Goodbye, Damien. I hope you find whatever peace you are looking for. But you will not find it from me. I walked out of that hospital room, and I felt lighter than I had in years. Forgiveness was not always the answer. Sometimes the answer was just moving forward and building something so beautiful from the ashes that the people who burned you down became irrelevant. Damien died 4 months later. I did not go to the funeral. I sent flowers with a card that said, "Rest in peace," because even though I did not forgive him, I was not cruel enough to gloat over his grave. His mother called me afterward. He left you something in his will. I do not want anything from him. It is not money or property, just a letter. Please. It was his dying wish. Against my better judgment, I agreed to receive it. The letter was short, written in shaky handwriting from a man who knew he was dying. Valentina, you were right about everything. I was not sorry I hurt you. I was sorry I lost. But in these last few months, lying here alone with no one who cares if I live or die, I finally understand what I destroyed. It was not just your trust or your heart. It was the possibility of actually being loved by someone remarkable. You were remarkable even then, even when I could not see it. And instead of treasuring that, I treated you like a joke. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But I want you to know that in the end, you taught me more than any business school or mentor ever could. You taught me that cruelty has consequences, that people are not pawns to be used and discarded, that the person you underestimate might be the one who destroys you. Thank you for that lesson. It came too late for me, but maybe it will help someone else. Live well, Valentina. You earned it. Damien, I read that letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my safe. Not because I forgave him, not because it changed anything, but because it was proof that even the cruelest people could learn, even if they learned too late. 10 years after the wedding that broke me and remade me, I stood on a stage accepting an award for Businesswoman of the Decade. Hayes Industries was now worth $12 billion. We had changed entire industries. We employed 50,000 people worldwide. We had funded hundreds of startups run by women and minorities who never would have gotten funding otherwise. I had done what I set out to do. I had taken the pain of that humiliation and turned it into power. In my acceptance speech, I told my story. All of it. The bet, the revenge, the transformation. People ask me if I am glad he did what he did, I said to the audience of thousands. They ask if I would go back and change it if I could. The answer is complicated. Would I wish that pain on anyone? No. Would I give up everything I built from that pain? Also no. I looked out at the crowd, at the young women in the front rows, hanging on every word, at the business leaders taking notes, at the press recording every moment. Here's what I want you to understand. Your worth is not determined by how others see you. Your value is not measured in pounds or dollars or social status. You are worth exactly what you decide you are worth. And if someone tries to use you, to diminish you, to treat you like a punchline to their cruel joke, you have 2 choices. I paused, letting the silence build. You can let it destroy you, or you can let it forge you into something so powerful that when they finally realize what they lost, it is already too late. The standing ovation lasted 5 full minutes. After, a young woman approached me. She was plus size, maybe a size 18, and she had tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "My boyfriend just admitted he only dated me because his friends bet him he could not land a fat girl. I was going to go home and eat a bottle of pills. But then I saw your story online and I came here instead. You saved my life." I pulled her into a hug and let her cry on my shoulder. "He is an idiot," I told her. "And someday, when you are successful and happy and thriving, he is going to realize what he lost. But by then, you will not care. Because you will have built something so much better than anything he could have given you. Promise?" "I promise." She left with her head held higher. And I knew that no matter what else I accomplished in my life, that moment, that one woman I helped save, was worth more than all the billions in my bank account. They say the best revenge is living well. They are wrong. The best revenge is turning your pain into power, your humiliation into empire, and proving that the person who tried to break you actually just set you free. Damien Cross bet $5 million that he could marry me and fool me for 3 years. He lost that bet. And his company. And his reputation. and eventually his life. I won everything. Not because I was thinner or prettier or smarter, but because I refused to stay a victim. And that made all the difference. If you enjoy this story, kindly subscribe for more. And do you feel bad for Damien? Let's know in the comments section.